In Kitamasu near Mount Aso, two miners go missing after a mine floods, and several miners and a policeman are later found dead with sharp object wounds. Shigeru Kawamura discovers a giant prehistoric larval insect. It's called a meganulon, and it's responsible for the killings. It was awakened by the mining activities. However, he has amnesia and struggles to remember all of the details. Amid increasing seismic activity, Shigeru regains his memory and recalls seeing a massive egg in the mine hatch into a giant bird-like creature known as RODAN. Dr. Kashiwagi identifies RODAN as a pterosaur awakened by nuclear testing. RODAN then wreaks havoc, destroying jets and attacking cities with its supersonic speed and windstorms from its wings. Two RODANs are discovered, causing widespread destruction. The military triggers an eruption at Mount Aso to eliminate them. One RODAN is injured and falls into the lava, and the second RODAN dives in after it, choosing to die with its mate. Or best friend, depending on your interpretation. RODAN was Toho's first color tokusatsu kaiju film, marking a milestone for the studio in 1956. Kenji Sahara, the film's lead actor, completely immersed himself deeply in his character's amnesia, studying its nuances and even physically embodying it to the point of injury during filming. Director Ishiro Honda developed a strong rapport with Sahara, casting him repeatedly in subsequent films, becoming a Godzilla regular of sorts. He would go on to appear in films like King Kong vs. Godzilla, Mothra vs. Godzilla, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, and Godzilla Final Wars. Haru Nakajima, known for his iconic role as Godzilla, also portrayed RODAN and was backed up by Katsumi Tezuka. This setup between the two actors rotating in playing the lead monster was previously established in the original Godzilla movie made 2 years prior. During filming, a mishap occurred when the cables that were lifting Nakajima as RODAN up in the air just broke, causing him to fall 20 feet to the ground. Fortunately, the fall itself was cushioned by the suit's wings as well as the water below. Historical context aside, RODAN has one of my all-time favorite tropes in kaiju media, and that's the monsters actually going after humans with malicious intent. We see the meganulon actually maim and kill people, and it adds to the suspense and terror. The suits, by the way, look incredible, especially for 1956. Yeah, I know this is a big budget monster movie made by Toho, but it's still just so impressive. And on top of that too, I like that the meganulon are sort of like the bait and switch villain, where it's revealed that they're just food for the RODAN hatchling. What is a massive threat to the human characters is nothing more than just baby food for RODAN. Tonally, this movie is on the same level as the original 1954 Godzilla movie. In his later appearances, RODAN is always featured in somewhat goofy movies in terms of just tone, so it's really neat seeing him in a darker, more serious film. RODAN is a bit of a slow burn, but is still paced extremely well, given this movie is around 80 minutes in length. We really don't see the titular kaiju for a while, and I like that. There's legitimate build-up to it. It never gets boring, since the human characters are somewhat compelling, and the constant threat of the meganulons just keeps everything so interesting. The scenes in the caves are just so claustrophobic and sweaty. Everyone is rugged and tired and wet. There's a tangible terror throughout in a way that reminds me of the original Alien film. Seeing miners in the hospital ward after getting torn to shreds as their families try to get answers in the hallway is just so horrifying. There's this real sense of panic, and it genuinely stresses me out watching it. It really humanizes the characters that we just saw get brutally maimed by these monsters in a way that effectively calls back to the original Godzilla. As much as I love the goofy shit that will eventually come out in the 60s and 70s from Toho, I just adore when these films take a more serious tone. It just makes everything feel so real. And yeah, it's just people in monster costumes destroying tiny buildings, and you can laugh at it all you want. But for me personally, I love it. I love when it's taken seriously and when there's craft to it. And trust me, there is a real craft to this movie. It's just so well put together, and I love every minute of it because it truly feels like a horror movie at times. Once RODAN shows up, or rather, the RODANs, The film gets even better. Eiji Tsuburaya was in charge of the special effects, who at this point in time had previously worked on the original 54 Godzilla film as well as Raids Again and Half Human, which is its own beast that I'll probably cover on this channel eventually. The miniature cities and model work are just so fun to look at as they get completely destroyed in a wonderful fashion. The Rodan suit is a bit clumsy at times, but again, this is a movie made in 1956, when the suitmation genre was still in its infancy as we know it. But this might very well be my favorite Rodan design. Ironic, since it's the very first. Beyond all that, though, the Mega Nulon suits truly steal the show here. I talked about it a little bit before, but they look incredible, and not enough people praise them. They're so weird yet horrifying. They feel prehistoric while also feeling alien and sci-fi-esque. Akira Ifukube's music in Rodan stands as a remarkable achievement in his illustrious career, further solidifying his legacy as one of Japan's greatest composers to ever work in the film industry. You know what? No, I take it back. He is one of the best composers to ever do it. Period. While it's true that nothing can surpass the groundbreaking impact of his original Godzilla score, which is an iconic piece that will forever change the landscape of film music, his work in Rodan is still exceptionally well crafted. The score beautifully captures the film's atmosphere, blending suspense, grandeur, and a sense of impending doom that perfectly complements the visuals on screen. The score doesn't just accompany the action, it elevates it, adding layers of depth to the film's narrative and making the creature's appearance all the more impactful. Something that I like to talk about in these type of videos is the American dub, because, well, I'm American, and a lot of the time I only watched the dubs growing up. So for me, I like sort of giving praise to these actors that were doing the thankless job of dubbing these Japanese movies that to them were probably just weird monster movies that no one cared about, but of course that's not really true. Much like the American dub for Godzilla Raids Again, the voice talent here is stacked, but the overall execution is a little subpar. Funnily enough, a lot of the same people that worked on the dub for that film also worked on the dub for Rodan. In this dub, the character of Dr. Kashiwagi was voiced by George Takei, best known for his role as Sulu in the original Star Trek series. Meanwhile, Paul Frees, the iconic voice behind the Ghost Host in Disney's Haunted Mansion, and Tom and Jerry, and a million other cartoons, he lent his talents to multiple characters. After all, he was known as the Man of 1,000 Voices. So in the dub, he voiced Nishimura, Dr. Tanaka, and Suda. However, the wildest piece of trivia is that Fei Rei's voice appears in the dub through stock audio that the studio just had on hand. For those unaware, Fei Rei was the actress that portrayed Ann Darrow in the original 1933 King Kong film. It's kind of cool to see a somewhat distant connection like that between these two franchises that haven't yet crossed over. So go and give Rodan a watch if you haven't seen it already. If you have seen it, let me know what you think down below in the comments. And with all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. Consider becoming a member to support the channel. It's kind of like Patreon, but it's right here on YouTube. For just $1.99 a month, you'll receive member shoutouts right here, wherever I want to put them. And in our film projects, you get to be credited as an executive producer. There's also going to be a members-only podcast that's in the works, as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, enjoy exclusive production updates and photos straight from the heart of Firewood Media. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's just an extra perk for anyone that wants to support the channel while getting some unique content in exchange. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.